How many of you guys have heard of D-Day, the big event in 1944? All right, at first there was no hands up, now there's a few, that's good. So did you know that the term D-Day isn't specific to the invasion of Normandy or Operation Overlord, as more formally known as? The D-Day Museum's website states that D-Day signifies the beginning of a military operation, though the most famous D-Day is Operation Overlord. So for those who don't know, who didn't raise their hand the first or the second time, the Operation Overlord was the Allied attack of Nazi-controlled France, which occurred on the early morning of July 6, 1944. D-Day, or Operation Overlord, was an enormously important event because it was the turning point for the Allied forces in World War II. There's a saying that goes, if D-Day wasn't a success, everyone, including you and I, would be speaking German instead of English right now because of the mass amount of resources and soldiers put into the event. So I've studied D-Day, Operation Overlord, for many years in and out of class because it interests me after I was watching Saving Private Ryan. Like that intro scene, like I was super interested in that. Right, so what I want you guys to get out of this is how crucial of a battle Operation Overlord was to the Allied forces and them eventually winning the war. So what I'm going to talk about is what happened leading up to Operation Overlord, what happened during Operation Overlord, and what happened after Operation Overlord. So there's a little diagram just explaining what I just said. So now that I've given you a general understanding of D-Day, I'll begin to explain what happened leading up to it. So prior to Operation Overlord, Allied forces, which composed of the United States, Britain, Russia, and many other countries who resisted the Nazi regime and their allies, were focused on taking other countries back from the Nazis in order to get a better attacking position for the future invasion of Germany up here. So that included Africa, and then in 1943, in Italy, I was going to say, Italia. So since May of 1940, France was under Nazi control. They basically walked in there without any resistance, took it in, I think, 3 days. They took France in 3 days. So what they would do, what the Nazis would do, is they sent planes, much like these bombers, across the English Channel to attack London and many other English cities. So basically, the leader of England, Winston Churchill, pleaded to President Franklin Roosevelt to establish an attack on the French coast, and that would eventually be Operation Overlord. So since I've just discussed what happened prior to the battle, I will now discuss what happened during the battle. So many people think that D-Day consisted only of the people in the boats, like that opening scene of Saving Private Ryan. It's not true. There was also paratroopers, which are troops with parachutes, and bombers, which went in before. At 1 in the morning on June 6th, paratroopers were dropped behind the beaches to inflict as much damage as possible. According to the U.S. Army website, over 13,000 paratroopers were dropped behind those beaches. A few hours after that, bombers, much like this B-17 Flying Fortress, were sent in to destroy and to make it as smooth as the landing as possible. So according to an article on the landing of Omaha Beach, which is this beach on the left, by S.L.A. Marshall, who was a U.S. general and the military history general, in a newspaper article by The Atlantic, the boats unloaded their soldiers at exactly 6:36 in the morning. Many of us aren't even up at 6:36 in the morning, so you can see how early that was. Most beaches were pretty simple to get through. There wasn't much resistance, but Omaha Beach, which is this one here, as well as this one here, saw extreme amount of resistance. The machine guns, the German machine guns, were pointed directly at the boats when the passengers were being let go. A troop's description in that same Atlantic article says, first men out, tried to do it, but were ripped apart not 5 yards away. The troops somehow, miraculously, get to the beach wall, destroy the machine gun nests where the enemies are located, and establish that very hard-fought beach fight. So, now that I've finished discussing the events of the battle, I will now be discussing the aftermath of the battle. After the battle, as you can see here, well, you can't really see because the lights are kind of bright, but all of these are supply trucks and troops flooding into the beach. So, they flooded into the beach for the future invasion and liberation of France. Months after the attack, Allied forces started to flood into Paris, and they captured the heavy city of Cherbourg, only months after the invasion of Normandy. Months after the capture of Cherbourg, they reached France, which is actually over here, it's depicted. And Operation Overlord basically set the momentum for the United States and their allies to roll through Paris and eventually get to Berlin. So now that I've explained the outcome of the battle, I'll now conclude my speech. So I stated how important Operation Overlord was to the Allied forces winning the war. I've also stated the events leading up to the Normandy invasion, as well as what happened during and after. So, with this major win setting the pace for the Allies ultimately winning the war, do you think that we would all be speaking German if we lost the Operation Overlord? Thank you.